The story kicks off with a high school football varsity player pulling up to his secluded home in a pickup truck. Surrounded by emptiness, the house sits alone, reflecting his own isolation. As he steps inside, it becomes clear he's by himself. Being popular and athletic, he likely has no shortage of admirers, especially women interested in him. This is confirmed when a friend calls and mentions someone is eager to spend time with him. On the table, he notices an egg timer ticking. Later, after heading upstairs and setting his alarm, he drifts off to sleep. Around midnight, he wakes up and shockingly finds the egg timer ticking right next to him in bed. Someone must have broken in. Panicked, he rushes outside, only to discover his truck is gone. Back inside, he attempts to dial 911, but is stunned by a disturbing photo placed in front of him. More photos appear, leading him upstairs to a room. Though initially empty, he arms himself with a golf club and opens the wardrobe, finding even more pictures, images of him violently hazing a teammate. As he moves into the room, someone hiding below suddenly slashes his ankles, causing him to fall and bleed. The attacker then reveals their face, covered by a 3D printed mask of his own likeness, and proceeds to fatally stab him. Meanwhile, at the school stadium, a video of the hazing incident is broadcast to everyone. The victim turns out to be Caleb, a gay football player. As the clip ends, all eyes shift to him in shock. A memorial is later held to honor the murdered player. At the vigil, a new girl named Makani brings a card that reads "Get well soon," which confuses her friends. She explains the store was out of sympathy cards. One sarcastic girl, nicknamed Curly, mocks her choice. When Caleb arrives, the crowd watches him closely, suspecting he might have sought revenge for the hazing. Makani observes that their judgment stems from his sexuality. Later, she and her group gather at the cafeteria to discuss the situation. Rod suggests another football player could be the killer. Zach half-jokingly claims his own father might be behind it, since the land could be bought by him now. When Caleb tries to sit in the cafeteria, his teammates reject him. Nerdy invites him to their table instead. Everyone introduces themselves except Curly, who stays cold and rude. Suddenly, the school's religious student council president, dubbed President Girl, gives a speech about the murder. She says hatred was the cause and calls for love in response. Everyone bows their heads to pray, except Makani and a known sociopath named Ali. Their eyes lock and Ali flashes a smile. Outside afterward, Zach finds his car vandalized with an insult toward his family. He laughs it off and invites the group for a smoke. As they chill, Ali drives by and flips them off. In the next scene, President Girl is seen alone in the church, wearing a white robe as she serves. She receives an eerie text just as someone locks the church doors. Her dark side is exposed as the TV plays a podcast where she voices support for racism and criticizes diversity. Suddenly, the masked killer, dressed like her and wearing a 3D printed version of her face, appears. She pleads for her life, but the killer remains silent. She tries to flee, only to be slashed in the stomach. She crawls under the pews, gasping, but the killer corners her again. In a last attempt to survive, she hides in the confessional, but the killer stabs her through the wall and forces her face into the blade. Her body is later discovered hanging at the altar. The next day, students are brought in for questioning at the police station. Zach is spared the process thanks to his wealthy father, who picks him up and scolds him on the way home. Eventually, only Makani and Ali remain. When it's her turn, the officer appears disinterested and lets her go quickly. Makani and Ali leave together, driving around. Music plays as they sit in silence, exchanging lingering glances, hinting at a growing chemistry between them. Ali parks the car in a quiet spot where he and Makani share a romantic, heated moment, clearly swept up in their feelings. But just as things intensify, a random person dashes past the car, abruptly cutting the mood short. Later, they arrive at a party hosted at Zach's mansion. Makani joins her group of friends, while Ali chooses to stay off on his own. At the table, the group dares one another to reveal their deepest secrets. Curly goes first, confessing her crush on Rod, who admits the feeling is mutual. Then Zach drops a bombshell. He announces he's not graduating. To everyone's horror, he suddenly pulls out a gun and puts it in his mouth before pulling the trigger. A tense silence follows until it turns out to be a harmless prank gun that only releases smoke. The tension breaks when Zach reveals a bizarre part of his life, a Nazi memorabilia collection he inherited from his father, which he's repurposed into a hookah setup. As he passes it around, the party kicks into high gear. Music, dancing, and wild behavior fill the room. Meanwhile, in a side room, Curly and Rod engage in a frenzied, intimate encounter. Minutes later, they return to the party, but Rod notices pills scattered on the floor, and a look of worry crosses his face. Suddenly, everyone's phones light up with a message exposing Rod's secret. He's addicted to painkillers, which explains the pills he always carries. The party takes a terrifying turn when the lights go out and the killer appears, this time wearing a mask made from Rod's 3D printed face. Panic erupts and people flee the house. Rod, instead of escaping, runs back inside to find Curly. Alone, he hides in a room, but his phone rings, giving away his location. He tries to crawl through a vent, but the killer stabs at him from the outside. Rod manages to get out, but his escape is cut short when the killer shoots him with a taser. While he's immobilized, the killer forces him to take more pills, then slits his throat, killing him in a gruesome end. The next day, Makani and her friends gather in the middle of a field, mourning Rod's death. As they lie on the grass staring at the stars, Ollie texts Makani letting her know he's there for her. The following day, while walking through the school hallway, Curly tells Makani she suspects Ollie might be the killer. They see graffiti accusing him of the murders, suggesting others believe it too. Concern shows on Makani's face. She clearly doesn't want to believe it. Makani insists it's unfair to point fingers at Ollie without proof, while Curly questions his suspicious absence during the party and the fact that he might have access to police equipment like a taser through his brother, who's a cop. In the next scene, Ollie picks Makani up and suggests a drive to the beach. As they cruise along smoking and relaxing, he instead takes her to the farmland owned by Zach's family. They look out over the endless cornfields, which he compares to the ocean. They begin to kiss passionately, but their moment is interrupted by a phone call. While Ollie steps away to answer it, Makani gets into the car and finds a taser inside, immediately raising her suspicion. When Ollie returns, he tells her that people always need someone to blame and reminds her that she understands what that's like. This makes Makani suspect he's dug into her past. Spooked and convinced he might be the killer, Makani rushes home. She locks the doors and places a knife nearby for protection before going to sleep. That night, she has a disturbing dream of a bonfire and a girl with a burned face. She wakes to find her front door wide open and the knife gone. Slowly, she walks toward a room glowing with a fiery light. Inside the room, Makani discovers a haunting collection of photos, one showing a girl with a severely burned face, and a newspaper clipping with a headline about her. Overwhelmed, Makani begins to cry as she reads the article, consumed by guilt. Outside the window, the killer suddenly appears, staring in. Without warning, the killer smashes through the glass and fires a taser, paralyzing her. As she lies stunned, the killer drenches her with gasoline, preparing to set her ablaze. Just as the killer is about to ignite the fire, a noise from outside draws its attention. The distraction gives Makani the chance to fight back, and the killer flees into the night. Moments later, Curly rushes into the room and helps Makani. The next day, Makani wakes up in a hospital bed surrounded by her friends. They inform her that Ollie has been arrested and is now the prime suspect in the string of murders. Feeling the weight of her past, Makani finally opens up. She recounts a dark memory. During a hazing ritual, she and others were forced to drink and then coerced into fighting one another. In her drunken state, she accidentally shoved a girl into a bonfire. The girl survived but suffered severe burns. Ever since, Makani has carried deep shame and regret, trying to bury the truth. Elsewhere, Zach's wealthy father is giving an interview about a local festival taking place on his farmland. Meanwhile, at school, most of the students board buses to head to the festival, leaving Makani behind as she finishes a phone call. Zach was supposed to pick her up, but he's currently inside the corn maze attraction at the event. Suddenly, Ollie shows up at the school, recently released after his police officer brother cleared his name. Makani panics and runs, fearing he might be dangerous after all. Caleb finds her and offers comfort with a reassuring hug, but as they embrace, the killer strikes, stabbing Caleb from behind. In a twisted move, the killer hands the bloody knife to Makani and disappears. Ollie, arriving seconds later, immediately rushes to Caleb's side to help. Their friends soon arrive as well, realizing the truth. Ollie isn't the killer. He was just an easy target for suspicion because of his troubled background and distant demeanor. Makani suddenly notices a festival poster nearby, and everything clicks. The killer is heading straight for the corn maze. The group speeds off in a car, racing toward the burning maze. Makani frantically tries to call Zach, fearing he's the next victim. Back at the cornfield, the killer moves through the maze, pouring gasoline along the paths. Then, with a flick of a lighter, the fire begins to spread. Just then, Makani's phone rings. It's Zach, and he sounds terrified. Zach calls in a panic, telling them he's inside the corn maze searching for his father, and pleads for their help. Makani and her friends rush to the festival, but when they arrive, the flames have already engulfed much of the maze. Taking the risk, Ollie pushes the vehicle through the burning crops. Once inside, they jump out quickly, but Ollie returns to the car to grab a taser for protection. Screams echo from deep within the maze, drawing them forward. Smoke thickens with every step, cloaking everything in a dense, choking fog. Amid the chaos, a group of frightened football players stumbles toward them, pleading for help. Curly and Nerdy step up and lead them to safety. Meanwhile, Makani and Ollie push deeper into the maze, determined to find Zach. In the heart of the flames, they come upon a horrific sight. The killer is moments away from killing Zach's father, who begs for mercy, pleading that he has a family. Ignoring him, the killer savagely drives a sword into his skull. Then the killer turns to face them, and to their shock, it's Zach. No one had suspected him. As the wealthy son of a landowner, he had always seemed untouchable, with every advantage in life. Why would someone like him do this? Zach is furious that they interrupted. Ollie reacts fast, attempting to subdue Zach with the taser, but the shot misses. Zach retaliates by stabbing Ollie. Seething, Zach launches into a bitter rant. He explains that growing up with privilege has only brought scorn and judgment. He then reveals his final plan, to frame Makani for all the murders. He'll kill her, pretend it was self-defense, and walk away innocent, just another misunderstood rich kid. But before he can strike, Ollie takes another shot with the taser. It misses again. That's when Makani takes her chance. She grabs a weapon and stabs Zach, putting an end to his violent spree. With Zach dead, she rushes to Ollie, helping him to safety as the inferno blazes around them. The story closes with the aftermath of the tragedy. Life slowly returns to normal. At graduation, Makani steps up to the podium, reading a heartfelt poem that captures everything they've been through: grief, guilt, survival, and healing. And the movie ends here. If you enjoyed this recap, make sure to subscribe and turn on the bell icon for more.